guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mills and I make videos about life in the Dominican Republic, expat life, K1 visa, teaching abroad, all of that stuff and more. Today I am going to make a video about teaching English in the Dominican Republic. I have made videos before about teaching abroad like I did. I'll explain a little bit more the difference in a second, but if you like my videos, if you can take a second to hit subscribe or share with a friend, give a thumbs up, turn on notifications, whatever you want to do, that would be amazing and I would really appreciate it. So thank you. For those of you who are new here, I moved to the Dominican Republic in 2017 and I spent a year teaching in Jarabacoa, which is an hour from Santiago. It's up in the mountains. I taught at a private Christian school and I taught 4th grade. So it was a whole it was a whole grade. I taught 7 subjects: math, social studies, science, Bible, reading, language arts, all of that good stuff, and some not so good stuff. And I have made videos about my experience teaching abroad, what questions you should ask, all of that, but I did it more from a perspective of if you're going to teach a full grade like I did, and not so much if you're going to teach English. Now, just to differentiate the two, when I say teaching English abroad, I mean teaching, in this case, Dominicans how to speak English. I didn't do that personally, but I have tons of messages all of the time from people who are wondering how to do that, any tips or advice, what's it like. So I thought that I would just share from my experience of my friends teaching abroad and witnessing it and working with English teachers, what it's like, in case you are in the position of being interested or preparing to move there to teach English, and I hope this is helpful. So the first thing that I'll say is you can go about getting an English job 2 different ways. You can use a program like CIEE, Teach Away, Go Abroad. There's countless different programs that you can use, and these programs, you'll pay a fee. I think it's anywhere from like $1,000 to $2,000 typically. They will match you up with a school, and sometimes that includes flights, not always. They'll match you up with a school, they'll place you in the city, they'll take care of the housing for you, they'll manage any kind of visa information, get you situated, and they're always a point of contact. So say something goes wrong, you can always reach back out to the program and someone should be assigned to help you. This is good for someone who's never been abroad or who doesn't have experience in the specific country or wants that added assurance of a backed program, which totally makes sense. The other way to do it is to find the school on your own, which is, I would say, 50-50 what I see people who are messaging me asking questions do. You can, and this is what I did for my position, find out what area you want to be in. If you're open to the cities in the DR, maybe you don't care if you're in the city or on the beach, then you have a lot of choices. But do your research. Maybe, I always recommend taking a trip there, but it's not always feasible for everyone. So really do your research on the areas. Where would you like to be? Maybe there's 3 different areas that you can see yourself living. What I would do is look up schools in the area, and don't look up normal schools, right? They usually don't hire teachers for English specifically, because most of those schools are maybe international schools. They are already integrating the kids in English from a very young age. They don't necessarily have someone coming in just to teach the kids how to speak English, if that makes sense. There are some public schools that do have teachers come in, teach the kids English, but the vast majority of what I have seen are institutes. So look up language institutes in the specific cities or towns that you have researched. Reach out and ask if they're hiring for English teachers, right? And then once you start talking to them, usually there's a need. Usually people are always looking for English teachers, and talk about rates. What are they going to pay you? Is it salary? Is it hourly? Does it include health insurance? Does it include housing? Where will you live? Will you have a roommate? all of those questions. And I did a video, it was like my second video ever, about questions to ask before you accept a job teaching abroad. So I will link that. I think it's still applicable even if you're just going to teach English rather than a full grade. It still makes sense. You still want to know if you're lesson planning, who you're teaching, your hours, obviously, right? So once you do all this research, you ask the important questions, you're interviewing and whatnot, you may be wondering what you even need to qualify. Some institutes will require a bachelor's degree. Some require a TEFL or a TESOL. So you really want to ask those questions, see what you need to qualify. Sometimes they advertise it, sometimes they don't. But I would say not to get your TEFL unless you need to. What I've seen is there's a lot of institutes that don't really have any requirements apart from you being a native English speaker, maybe some experience teaching in some capacity. So you might not want to rush out and get the TEFL if you aren't sure that you need it or that you'll use it, because it is an upfront cost and you might not need that qualification. Now, if you just want to be certified in it regardless, then go ahead. So what to expect, say you accepted a position, you're going to live there and teach English. A lot of people do not know that some institutes provide the lesson plans and you literally just have to follow the book, follow the guide. They have all these workbooks for the students, and you're really just going lesson by lesson in the teacher's guide. On the other hand, some institutes have no lesson planning for the teachers, and that's all on you, and you need to provide the lessons, the materials, the activities, all of that. So make sure you know beforehand going into it, and if you're prepared to lesson plan, then that's great, you'll be fine. If not, then definitely know that up front. I would say with my experience, it's kind of 50-50. It seems like the institutes and the language centers provide some resources and workbooks and whatnot, materials, but not everything. So you still do need to lesson plan and know what you're teaching and think of activities and ideas and maybe even make your own tests and quizzes and, grade all those tests and quizzes. But it does seem like there is some balance, which is good. Another thing to know is I think a lot of people always assume that they're going to be teaching kids, and there are so many institutes that teach kids, but there's also a lot of adults that want to learn English, especially in the DR. So my friends who taught at an institute, some of them didn't even see kids. They were 16 and up, or they were 21 and up. You never know. But on the other hand, you could teach third grade and up. Who knows? That's a question to ask, and if you have a preference, I would definitely recommend and tell them, no, I don't want to be with adults, no, I don't want to be with little kids. See if they have an opening in the area you want to be in, because that does make a huge difference. For hours, the vast majority of classes that I have seen have the teachers working from like 12 or 2 p.m. to like 6 to 8 p.m. So, like I said, most of these classes take place after school or work, so you're there later. You don't usually have a normal 8 to 5, like a school day. So you need to take that into account too. For example, my friend, I think she taught 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Usually you have Saturday classes. Again, something to consider, because when you're teaching at a normal school, you're getting the weekends off most of the time. But if you're at a language center, Saturdays are really busy. Lots of the adults who are working for the whole week, they can't come to a class, they come Saturday. Same with the kids, maybe they're in sports or something, they're coming Saturday. So you should be prepared and ask ahead your hours, but most people I know work Monday through Saturday, and then they have Sunday off. For me, it's a tough schedule because I loved traveling on the weekends, because you're teaching during the week, you can't go anywhere. So on the weekends, it's really nice to explore the country. Now, if you're not the type that wants to go take advantage of the weekends and you're okay with day trips on Sundays, then nothing to worry about. Also, I know my hands are a lot. Like, I will always talk with my hands. I'm sorry if they're distracting. I'll try to keep them down. So be prepared. So be prepared for those hours. Now it can change. I have heard of teachers who work at public schools and they have a normal schedule, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, but just something to definitely ask about. The other thing to expect is that you will have different levels of speakers in one class. So a lot of the time, schools will organize their students based on age and sometimes, but not always, experience. So you can have someone who has really little experience with English with someone who is like a level 3 already. So that is a little bit of a challenge. When you're going into it, you need to know that you can't always give just one worksheet out and expect everyone to be on the same level. You might have people who can't do that worksheet and people who are doing it in 5 minutes. So that's where the lesson planning comes in, and one workbook, even if they're providing that lesson plan, cannot always apply to every student. So you have to be ready and willing to maybe have extra worksheets, extra material for those who are advanced, and slow things down for the people who are behind. What I see sometimes is, as long as the parents are paying, the kids or students are getting pushed through to the next level each year, and they might not necessarily be on that level, if that makes sense. So you need to be prepared that not everyone will be in the same place, which is definitely hard. My classroom in 4th grade was like that, and it's really hard to make sure you have something for those who are behind and those who are ahead. Another thing, you might not be allowed to speak Spanish in the classroom. So if you're going to really practice your Spanish, you might not get a huge chance in the classroom. I mean, on breaks and stuff, of course, but that is just something to remember, that if it's truly an immersion, then they don't really want you explaining things in Spanish. Like in my classroom, I was supposed to teach all the time in English, and it's hard when these 10-year-old kids don't know every word in English, and I just want to translate it really easily, but they want a fully immersive experience. You also might be on a contract. You might have a year-long contract. You might have a 6-month-long contract. You might have a 2-year contract, which I have seen. So make sure that you are aware of what that is. And I am pretty sure a lot of institutes, if they are in need of teachers, wouldn't be like, no, you can't come if you won't sign for 2 full years. You know, because a lot of people get there and maybe it's not what they're expecting, or they want to be in a different city. And I think that's fine. But something to be aware of, definitely ask for a contract and read that contract and make sure that you understand it. I think the health insurance is a really good tip. Just see if they provide it. Ask them what's included, when do you get it, when does it kick in? Because I had an accident in the DR where I had to get like a very minor surgery, and it wasn't covered because they said it was like my insurance hadn't kicked in for that month yet, something weird. So just make sure that you know everything going into it. Also, Dominicans are very friendly, so even if, you know, sometimes they're not engaged in the classroom or whatever, they're usually very willing to help you. If you want to learn Spanish on the outside, I'm sure that someone in your class would be willing to help. And those who teach like teenagers to adults, it feels cool because they have friends. I had a friend who taught French in Santiago, and she has lots of friends that are her students because they're more our age, whereas like the little kids, you're not really going to hang out with them on the weekend necessarily. I mean, you can, but it's not as common. So that's kind of cool. I think if I did it again, I would want to teach English to like older teenagers to adults. Also because I think it's so valuable, especially there, if you can speak English in like a customer service role or what kind of really whatever job they have, it's a huge asset. So I think that's really helpful for them. That's just my opinion on it. I don't know why. I don't know. Tangent. Also, with pay, make sure, like I said, you know if it's hourly or salaried, but also, are you getting a Christmas bonus, which some schools do, some don't? What are your vacation times? Are they the normal holidays? Do you not get normal holidays? And ask about sick time, because I know for us, we only had like 5 sick days for the whole year. So you should know that going into it. Don't think like, oh, I'll just call in sick on Saturday so I can go hang out. Like, you might not have enough days to do that, you know? So just something to be aware of. Also, you can ask if they cover the flight to and from the DR, or if that's something that you'll have to take care of. Now, if you are going through a program like CIEE, then they'll be the ones to tell you all of that, and if you have to pay for the flight or if the school will. In terms of pay, I would expect anywhere from $400 a month to no more than $600 a month, and that's being generous, I would say, depending what area you're in. But it's not a lucrative job, but it does pay well for the DR. Remember, the average salary there is between $250 and $400 a month or so. So you are doing well. It's enough to live, but don't think that you're going to like make bank by doing this. And of course, usually the institutes will offer you the option to tutor on the side, where you can get extra students and one-on-one time, and then you're getting an extra kind of paycheck, which is nice. So those are basically the main things on what to expect and what to ask when trying to look for a teaching job, and to prepare yourself when you're getting there, kind of what's going to happen. I would love to hear in the comments any of you who have taught English in the DR or in another country. What was your experience? Did you like it? And any other tips that you have for anyone watching. What would you tell them to ask or look for, or any do's or don'ts that are at the top of your list? And I'm sure that I could add more or forgot some, so that would be helpful. And if you have any questions about kind of where to teach, I can help. I don't know every institute, of course, but I don't mind helping you do research because I like doing things like that. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Please comment below also any video requests that you have. I love doing videos that are requested, so don't be shy if there's something that you have been waiting to see and I haven't done yet. Probably I just haven't thought of it, even if it seems obvious. But overall, teaching English in the DR is an amazing experience. I would totally do it. If I could go back, I would probably choose to just teach English rather than a full grade, just to focus on kind of one area. And you get to really meet awesome people, see a beautiful country, really grow and become really independent, learn Spanish. It's awesome, you know? I hope you liked this video. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any, since I post at least once a week, and I will see you guys soon.